There is a war inside every human being. Not a war of swords, nor a war of politics, but a war of silence, the war between the voice that whispers, "You are not enough," and the voice that cries, "You were born for greatness." And the tragedy of life is that most men and women go to their graves without ever answering which voice was true. Today, you must decide. Today, you must reclaim what the Stoics knew, that the power of your soul is greater than the chaos of the world. That self-care is not indulgence, but the highest form of discipline. And that to love yourself is not weakness, but the foundation of becoming unstoppable. If these words awaken something within you, stay with me until the end, for you are about to step into a philosophy that has stood unshaken for 2,000 years. And if you believe that wisdom can save lives, then share this with someone who needs it, because the world needs more awakened souls. The first Stoic habit of self-care is mastery over the mind. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Think of this truth: how many hours of your day are poisoned by thoughts that are not your own? Thoughts borrowed from social media, poisoned by comparison, or corroded by fear. The Stoics understood that the greatest pollution is not in the rivers or the skies, but in the mind that has surrendered itself to noise. To love yourself means to guard your mind as a sacred temple. Do not allow every visitor, every toxic word, every fleeting distraction to enter. Practice the self-care of silence. Sit in solitude and examine the storm within. Ask yourself, whose voice is this? Does it belong to me, or am I a puppet of society's noise? When you begin to filter the voices, when you begin to take ownership of your own thought stream, you will feel the chains of self-hatred begin to loosen. For self-love begins not with affirmations in the mirror, but with mastery over the battlefield of thought. Yet the second habit is one the modern world has forgotten: discipline in the body. The Stoics did not separate mind and body, they understood the unity of the whole. Epictetus taught, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. To love yourself is not to comfort yourself endlessly, but to train yourself ruthlessly. Look at the athlete who rises at dawn, who suffers through sweat, who rejects laziness. Does he do it because he hates himself, or because he knows his potential? Self-care is not always warm baths and scented candles. Sometimes self-care is the iron barbell, the cold shower, the discipline to say no when the world whispers yes. You cannot expect your spirit to be strong if your body is weak, neglected, or dishonored. Every act of discipline, every push-up, every fast, every night you choose sleep over mindless scrolling, is a declaration: I am worth the effort. I am worth the strength. And if you believe this, whisper it to yourself now: I am worth the effort. The third Stoic habit of self-care is the art of perspective. Life will break you if you forget this. The world is filled with injustice, with loss, with heartbreak. You will be betrayed, abandoned, misunderstood. And yet, as Epictetus reminded us, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. To love yourself is to refuse to let circumstances define your worth. Imagine a storm raging across the sea. The waves rise, the wind howls, but the Stoic trains his mind to be the lighthouse, not the driftwood. When you anchor yourself in perspective, you discover a freedom unknown to the masses. The insult that once pierced your heart becomes nothing more than air. The failure that once paralyzed you becomes a stepping stone. The rejection that once shattered you becomes fuel for growth. Self-care here is not escape, but interpretation. It is the daily practice of saying, this event has no power over my soul unless I grant it permission. And when you master this, you become untouchable. The fourth Stoic habit of self-care is the practice of restraint, the ability to govern desire before desire governs you. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Think of the endless hunger of the modern world, the scrolling, the purchasing, the consuming, the chasing of likes, applause, and fleeting pleasures. Do you not see how this endless thirst has chained humanity? To love yourself is not to feed every craving, but to set yourself free from them. Restraint is not deprivation, it is liberation. When you say no to excess, you are not punishing yourself, you are protecting your peace. Each time you decline the impulse to consume, each time you choose patience over indulgence, you are declaring, I am not a slave. I am the master of my appetites. The man who cannot resist the smallest temptation will collapse when life tests him with greater trials. But the one who trains his will daily, who practices restraint even in the smallest choices, becomes a fortress. And in that fortress, self-respect is born. But self-care without truth is nothing but illusion. And that brings us to the fifth Stoic habit, brutal honesty with oneself. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, wrote in his Meditations, if it is not right, do not do it, if it is not true, do not say it. How many wounds in life come not from others, but from the lies we tell ourselves? We say we are fine when we are broken. We say we are trying when we are not. We say we want change, yet we cling to the habits that enslave us. To love yourself is not to flatter yourself, it is to confront yourself. Brutal honesty is self-care, because a man who lives in lies cannot heal. The mirror may show you your reflection, but only honesty will show you your soul. Sit with yourself. Write the truths you've been running from. Admit your weaknesses, not to punish yourself, but to free yourself. For the chains that bind you are not the failures themselves, but the denial of them. And when you stand naked in truth, without pretense, without excuses, you finally give yourself the chance to rebuild. The sixth Stoic habit of self-care is gratitude, not as a shallow ritual, but as a profound way of seeing the world. Seneca said, he is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has. In modern life, you are told daily that you are not enough, that you do not have enough, that happiness lies in the next purchase, the next milestone, the next victory. But gratitude silences this endless hunger. Gratitude teaches you to see wealth in what others overlook. The air filling your lungs, the sun breaking through the clouds, the ability to rise each morning, these are treasures no money can buy. Gratitude is not a weakness, it is armor. A grateful heart cannot be enslaved by envy. A grateful mind cannot be poisoned by entitlement. To love yourself is to refuse to measure your worth by what is missing, but to recognize the abundance that already surrounds you. Begin the practice. At dawn, list what you have, not what you lack. At night, thank the universe for the smallest gifts. In this, you reprogram your soul for resilience, and life itself begins to transform before your eyes. And now we arrive at the seventh and final Stoic habit of self-care, living aligned with purpose. For what use is strength of mind, body, restraint, honesty, and gratitude, if your life drifts aimlessly like a ship with no harbor? Epictetus declared, first tell yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do. The tragedy of modern life is not failure, but aimlessness. Men and women run faster than ever before, yet toward no destination. They drown in activity, yet starve in meaning. To love yourself is to honor your existence by living intentionally. Purpose is not something given to you, it is something forged by choice, by courage, by clarity. Ask yourself, what matters enough to suffer for? What cause would I endure storms for, without complaint? That is your purpose. Align your daily actions with it. Let your mornings begin with it, let your nights be measured by it. Purpose is the highest self-care, for a life without it will devour itself in confusion, while a life aligned with it becomes unstoppable. So here they are, 7 Stoic habits that transform self-care into the foundation of an unshakable life: mastery of mind, discipline of body, perspective in trials, restraint in desires, honesty in the soul, gratitude in the heart, and alignment with purpose. But let us not merely recite them like empty rituals. Let us breathe them, live them, become them. For wisdom is not power unless it is practiced. These habits are not distant ideals, they are choices waiting at your doorstep today. And when you choose them, you declare war on every voice that ever told you you were unworthy, unloved, incapable. If you feel the fire of these words, let me know in the comments below, because this is how a movement of resilience begins, not with crowds, not with noise, but with a single individual who chooses to rise. But here is the truth you must swallow: knowledge without practice is poison. You can read of the Stoics, you can memorize their words, you can even recite their maxims like prayers, but unless you breathe them into your bones, they will wither as empty echoes. Self-care in the Stoic sense is not a performance, it is war. It is the war against the self that prefers ease, the self that prefers comfort, the self that whispers, not today, tomorrow. And every time you delay, you betray yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, not to us: at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being. Do you see? Even an emperor struggled with lethargy, with temptation, with the heaviness of life. Yet he rose, not because it was easy, but because he chose duty over indulgence. You must rise the same way. To love yourself is to drag yourself out of the swamp of excuses. To become unstoppable is to win the smallest battles before you ever dream of great victories. If you cannot master the morning, how will you master destiny? Let us reflect deeper. Why is self-care often distorted today into indulgence? Because people confuse escape with restoration. They drown in entertainment, they binge until numbness, and they call it self-care. But the Stoic understood that care of the self means elevation, not sedation. There is a vast difference between healing the soul and hiding from it. When you numb yourself with distractions, you are not loving yourself, you are abandoning yourself. True self-care is to sit with your pain, to ask what it teaches, to endure its fire until wisdom emerges. Epictetus said, difficulties show men what they are. If pain reveals truth, then to escape it is to remain ignorant of who you are. To love yourself is not to run from pain, but to let it sculpt you into something greater. Do not misunderstand: joy, rest, peace, all of these are necessary. But when you confuse comfort with care, you become weaker, not stronger. The Stoic path is not easy, but it is the only one that builds unshakable strength. And here lies a paradox: the more you love yourself, the more discipline you must demand of yourself. Weak love coddles. Strong love commands. Think of a parent who spoils a child, granting every desire, never saying no. That child grows fragile, unprepared for life. But the parent who disciplines with love prepares the child for storms. You must become both the parent and the child to yourself. You must care by commanding, love by disciplining, nurture by challenging. Every time you deny yourself an empty pleasure, every time you push yourself into discomfort for the sake of growth, you are proving your love. Weak men indulge themselves to death. Strong men discipline themselves to life. Which will you choose? If you feel this truth burning in your chest, let me know, because when you acknowledge it, you cross the threshold from victimhood into mastery. Consider also the weapon of reflection. Marcus Aurelius wrote daily, not to impress, but to confess. His meditations were private reminders, brutal self-checks, anchors for his soul. Self-care in Stoicism is not merely exercise or diet, it is the relentless journaling of the mind, the examination of thought. How many times have you let days slip by unexamined, lost in the blur of activity, only to wake up months later asking, where did my life go? Reflection prevents that loss. Each night, sit and write, what did I do well? Where did I betray myself? What did I fear? What did I overcome? This habit is not weakness, it is armor. For the man who examines his life daily is never lost. He knows where he stands, he knows what must be corrected, and he grows unshakable in self-knowledge. To neglect reflection is to drift like a ship with no compass. But to reflect is to steer with clarity, to love yourself enough to know yourself. But hear me well, self-care is not isolation. Stoicism is often misunderstood as cold detachment, but this is a lie. Marcus Aurelius wrote, we are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of upper and lower teeth. Do you see? To love yourself, you must also honor your place in humanity. Isolation rots the soul, connection strengthens it. Yet this connection must be chosen wisely. Self-care is not surrounding yourself with any company, it is choosing the company that nourishes your virtue. If your circle weakens you, you do not love yourself enough. If your friendships drag you into mediocrity, you are betraying yourself. The Stoics taught that a wise companion is a medicine to the soul. To love yourself is to guard your circle as fiercely as you guard your mind. Remove the poison. Invite the strength. Surround yourself not with flatterers, but with those who challenge you to rise. This, too, is self-care, the care of your soul through the soil of your relationships. And still, deeper than this, lies the Stoic practice of memento mori, remembering death. What does this have to do with self-care? Everything. For if you forget your mortality, you will squander your life on trivialities. You will care for your body as though it will live forever, you will care for your comfort as though it matters eternally, and you will waste the one resource that cannot be restored, time. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. To love yourself is to live in full awareness of death, not in fear, but in urgency. Every moment wasted in self-hatred, in procrastination, in indulgence, is a theft from your soul. To care for yourself is to remember you are mortal, and therefore every choice matters. Do not wait until tomorrow to begin. Tomorrow is not promised. Begin today, because today is all you ever truly own. If these words strike you, pause now. Do not just listen, act. If you feel the fire of mortality in your chest, comment below what you will begin today. Because when you declare it, you chain yourself to accountability. And accountability is the soil where transformation grows. Do not consume wisdom passively. Engage with it, act on it, make it yours. For philosophy without action is nothing but noise. And so we arrive at the heart of it all. 7 habits, 7 flames, 7 pillars of Stoic self-care, but beneath them all lies the unshakable truth: you are not broken, you are not lost, you are not beyond repair. You are simply untrained in the art of loving yourself with discipline, with courage, with honesty. The world told you that self-love meant comfort. The Stoics teach you that self-love means strength. The world told you that self-care meant indulgence. The Stoics remind you that self-care means mastery. And mastery begins now, not tomorrow, not when the stars align, not when circumstances finally favor you. It begins the moment you say, enough. Enough with postponing the life I was born to live. Enough with treating myself as if I were unworthy of discipline. Enough with drowning in distractions, lies, and weakness. Today, I rise. Today, I choose the Stoic path. Understand this deeply: every act of self-care in the Stoic way is a declaration of sovereignty. When you discipline your body, you are telling the world, I am not a slave to comfort. When you guard your mind, you declare, I am not a prisoner of noise. When you practice restraint, you affirm, I am master of my appetites. When you embrace honesty, you proclaim, I will not live in illusion. When you give thanks, you whisper to the universe, I already have enough. And when you align with purpose, you roar, my life is not an accident, I choose to live it with meaning. This is self-love, not the fragile, shallow version preached by influencers, but the ironclad version forged by warriors of the soul. And when you practice it, nothing, no insult, no rejection, no storm, can break you. But remember, philosophy is not meant to decorate your mind, it is meant to arm your spirit. Marcus Aurelius did not write to impress others. He wrote because he was at war with himself every single day. You, too, are at war, with laziness, with fear, with despair. Do not think this path will be easy. It is not. But hear me well, the harder the path, the stronger the soul it forges. Your pain is not an enemy, it is the blacksmith's hammer. Your struggles are not curses, they are the fire that tempers your steel. To love yourself is to step willingly into that fire and to emerge unburned, purified, unstoppable. And when the world sees you, they will wonder how you became untouchable. The answer will not be luck. It will not be talent. It will not be privilege. It will be the habits you chose, the discipline you lived, the Stoic path you walked. Now, pause and ask yourself, which of the 7 habits will you begin today? Not tomorrow, today. Will you guard your mind from toxic voices? Will you train your body with discipline? Will you choose perspective in adversity? Will you practice restraint against desire? Will you confront yourself with honesty? Will you anchor your heart in gratitude? Will you align your life with purpose? Choose one. Begin with one. Do not attempt all at once, the oak does not grow in a day, but from a single seed. Choose one habit and plant it into the soil of your life. Water it with discipline, feed it with reflection, protect it with resilience. Soon, it will bear fruit. And when it does, add another. And another. Until the 7 habits are not mere practices, but your very nature. For this is the secret: at first, you practice the habits. Then, the habits shape you. And finally, you become them. The man who trains discipline becomes discipline itself. The woman who trains gratitude becomes gratitude itself. The one who walks daily in purpose becomes purpose embodied. You will no longer struggle to love yourself, you will radiate it naturally, because your life itself will be a monument of self-respect. Others will see it. They will feel it. They will be inspired by it. And this is how your private self-care becomes public strength, how your inner mastery becomes outer influence. Do not underestimate this: the disciplined soul changes not only his own life, but the lives of everyone he touches. And so I leave you with this: remember that your life is brief, but its impact can be eternal. You have within you the same fire that burned in Marcus Aurelius as he governed Rome, the same fire that guided Epictetus from slavery to wisdom, the same fire that lifted Seneca from exile to greatness. Their circumstances differ from yours, but the soul is the same. The habits are the same. The path is the same. And so the choice is the same: will you remain a prisoner of weakness, or will you rise as a master of the self? Will you continue to drift, or will you align with purpose? Will you merely exist, or will you live as though each day were your last? If these words strike a chord in you, if you feel the urgency of life calling you higher, let me know in the comments below. Not for me, for you. For when you speak your commitment aloud, you take the first step toward becoming unstoppable. And if you know someone lost in despair, share this with them, for you may ignite the fire they thought had died. Now, go. Rise. Live the Stoic way. Love yourself, not with softness that weakens, but with strength that endures. Become unstoppable, not for applause, not for vanity, but because this is the destiny of a soul awakened. And when your final day comes, and it will, you will meet death not with fear, but with calm, knowing that you lived with discipline, with purpose, with love. That you lived as a Stoic. That you lived as yourself.